I just didn't see it. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Resource Center Studios. Yeah, there it is. It did show up. Here in Rogersville, we're in Jamestown. We appreciate the Resource Center being a studio sponsor for us. 882-1800 for all of your insurance, financial planning, and estate planning needs, because I do some estate planning work through them. And Sportsland Pickup Covers. We appreciate them also. Everybody's jealous of my swing boxes. They love them.
Nobody's jealous.
Pretty cool.
Everybody's jealous of the swing boxes in my truck. I was showing them off in South Dakota. People are like, where did you get this? I'm like, my hometown.
Is it like Rogersville, Missouri?
Right here in Rogersville. So, okay, I got it shared to my page. Going to move my cookies.
Move my cookies.
And get through my Bible.
Yes, get
yeah.
your Bible.
So, Ephesians 2, 8 and 9. For by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing. It is a gift of God, not as a result of works, so that no one may boast. This is one of the verses, I think, in the Bible that sets Christianity apart from every other religion, every other worldview, everything else out there. And you know, I've ranted before about that Jimmy Kimmel clip. Drives me crazy.
Heard the rant.
I haven't heard it.
You haven't heard it?
No, I haven't heard it.
Okay, I will. So I'll sum up. I'll sum up. I won't show it. I'll summarize. Jimmy Kimmel, he's doing an Aloha to Lost. Remember the show Lost?
Yeah.
He did an episode right after.
I don't think I actually watched any of that, did you?
I don't know. But you're familiar with it. So
Yeah.
it was a media phenomenon in the early aughts, which I think is what we call them now. And so after the last episode, he had the guests, the stars of the show on as guests. And he's setting up a question for Matthew Fox, who played the lead, Jack, in that show. And he said, you know, some people think that, you know, the show has a spiritual element, and it, you know, so it's like Christianity, like every other world religion, says if you do good, you go to heaven. If you do bad, you go to hell, or whatever. And I lost my mind.
It was mine. Not like it.
It was hot. Because I'm like, you just totally mischaracterized everything Christianity is about. Christianity says you're all bad.
Right.
Everybody's bad.
Right.
Everybody's going to hell, and you can do nothing.
Everybody's earned it.
What now? Everybody's earned
Everybody's
it.
earned it.
Everybody's earned it. And you can do nothing to earn your way out of it. It is only by the grace, the gift.
Wages of sin is death.
The wages of sin is death. The sheriff's corrected me this morning. He's
I
keeping me
know.
on track.
No.
That's good. That's good. Sheriff Cole's here with us today, by the way,
If
and
you
Lauren
didn't
Brooke is
notice,
joining us.
we have a guest.
We do have a guest. But only by the grace and the sacrifice of Jesus Christ do we get out of there, and it is a free gift. And so this verse tells us all about that. So I will beat that hammer to death.
It's a good hammer to beat.
That Christianity is not like any other world religion. He was right when he said that's what everybody else says. That is every other world religion or philosophy. Even if you think you're an atheist, you think environmentalism is going to save you. You think liberalism is going to save you. You think the government's going to save you. You think socialism is going to save you. Everybody has a savior.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they all demand something
Bernie Sanders.
except for Jesus Christ. And only through him is it a free gift. So you can talk more about that. You have a fan already, Sheriff.
I know. We've already had a comment.
Kay Lysinger. It's like, hey, Sheriff.
Excited to see you.
Hi, Kaylin.
Kaylin.
Yep, Kaylin. That's right. She's on there.
Roye is what she said.
So my first headline for today is failure to pass the bar. B-A-R-R. You may have seen Attorney General Barr said,
Oh, yeah.
oh, there was no fraud. There was no fraud in this election.
Is that what he said?
Basically. No widespread
Something
fraud, but he basically contradicted everything that the president's been saying. So he may not have a job much longer.
There's a lot of people in a lot of tricky situations right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the DOJ and the FBI, they're still investigating this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
there's ongoing investigations, but now you've got this theoretically one of the top law enforcement agents in the land saying, "No, there's no widespread fraud."
Yep.
How could he know? You know, that's what bugs me about when people make these statements like that so early.
You don't know.
You don't know. You don't know.
You don't know.
So it's
Well,
interesting.
There's a lot of evidence that has to be collected to prove different things.
Well, you can.
No.
I didn't see that clip. I just saw the little headline when I was scrolling. But if there was fraud, it would be a lot of times it's easy to see, and then a lot of times it can be there and you don't know it's there. So I would think it would take some time to get it all sorted out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it can. Well, neither here nor there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when we get it all put together and all
Yes,
worked back around. None of you guys watched anything on Quibi, did you?
No.
You ever
What
heard
is
about that?
Quibi?
Well, it's too late now. It was an interesting idea,
It's too late.
so I'm going to tell you about it since it's too late.
What is Quibi?
Oh, by the way, Danielle Horton says hi. as does this guy Jack Cole.
Jack?
Never heard
You know
of her.
Jack?
Never heard of her. Says good morning, folks. But okay, so Quibi I thought was a really brilliant idea. They were like Netflix. They did their own content, but all of the
they're
episodes
short.
were like 5 to 7 minutes long. So you could sit down and watch an episode of a show that was like 5 minutes long, which sometimes is perfect.
Sure.
And
What were they
with
about?
well, they'd be about anything. So I watched 2 different shows on there. I watched one, I think it was called The Most Dangerous Game or something like that. But it was about a guy that got a terminal diagnosis, and then he was in financial straits. And so this guy made him an offer that said, you be hunted for 24 hours, and every hour you live, I'll deposit $1 million into a bank account, and then I'll double it. So like the first hour you get $1 million, then you get $2 million, then you get $4 million.
Hard no.
Well, and so I watched through that episode, and it was interesting. And they actually dropped something at the end that was going to lead to a season 2, which obviously is never going to happen because Quibi has gone dark.
That's
8 months.
Yeah.
It lasted 8 months, and it went out. The other one was the house flippers that got captured. They ended up buying a house to flip. Careful, Lauren. Watch this. This could happen to you.
And they got captured?
So they bought a flip house, and when they dug into the flip house to remodel it, they found like a bunch of drug money, and they just spent it all. And then the cartel people showed up and kidnapped them, and then they remade his house, and they became celebrities in the Mexican drug cartel, and they got traded around to
So it's pretty
decorate
dramatic
different drug lords'
scenario.
houses. It was funny. That was
Yeah.
that was a comedian.
That's hilarious.
That was a comedy one. But they've gone dark.
That
They
would be
didn't
fun
last.
though. You could go around to a bunch of people's houses with the drug cartel, and they'd pay you lots of money.
They got unlimited
Sheriff
fun.
Cole's like, what am I doing here?
Let's get to Sheriff Cole. Why are you? No, let's move this
I
thing
just don't know
along.
those shows.
So
I didn't know till the end of that was a comedy.
I should have let it was like with
I
Will
didn't either.
Forte.
You said that they took them or something.
Yeah, so Will Forte was on there, I think. Was who it was. But why are you here, Sheriff? Warren invited you.
Well. I thought it was important. This is what sparked me on Rogersville residence page. A couple people commented about tools being stolen, and my brain got to turning. And I'm like, during the holidays, I was a retail manager for 10 years, and so during the holidays, there's certain crimes that seem to tick up. Especially, I worked at the mall, so I was very familiar with some of those. So my head got to turning like, we need to have a show talking about holiday safety tips, how you can protect yourself and your property, and what better source of information than a local law enforcement person, Sheriff Cole. And so I asked him to come on and talk to us about that. So, what type of crimes?
That's Merry Christmas like a stolen hammer.
Yes. This is how my brain works. So this is kind of like a public service announcement is what I'm calling it. So,
PSA.
PSA, the more you know. So we are here, and what type of
TMK.
crimes peak during the holiday season?
That's a loaded question. Well, in common sense, you do have a lot of the more petty type crimes. You have a lot of thefts, but there's a lot of it that is also very weather related. Truthfully, cold weather is our best friend. So the colder the weather, the less crime we have. But it's also kind of a pretty steady mix in a rural county as who's into prison and who's not in prison. That also has a pretty big effect on it.
What?
Because a lot of time it is some of the same people doing the same thing over and over. But mostly your thefts will go up quite a bit. So that's the kind of the main thing that you'll see a lot in the holiday season.
And it's interesting talking about weather because I know, like when they were filming Cops in Springfield, they talked about when it got really hot, like that's when like your domestics and all kinds of stuff go up. But like in the wintertime, hopefully.
It is that too.
Yeah.
Turn the AC up.
Could, hypothetically, if you're locked in the house with somebody for a few days, it could get a little tense.
Combined with COVID.
Yeah. So,
You could do it.
you can experience that as well too.
Are you saying the thieves are not the most industrious folks out there and don't want to work in cold weather?
Oh, actually, I would tell you that they're very industrious.
Oh, the
They're
other
just
side.
not well motivated. You can see what they do in jail. The things that the things they can make with toilet paper would shock you. That's honest to God truth. And then you're just like, why aren't you an engineer? You know what I mean? The things.
You got skills.
It's not a matter of what they can and can't do. It's a matter of whether they're motivated to do it or not.
Exactly. So the Amazon packages getting stolen.
Yes.
That's a big one that happens this time of year.
I believe it's called a porch pirate.
porch pirating.
Porch pirating.
Any tips on porch pirating or what you can do if that happens to you? There's probably not much. much. But
Well, have they invaded your home if they're on your porch stealing a package?
Well, they're not in your residence, no.
That's too bad.
Unless it's an enclosed porch or something, then it wouldn't.
It's not
There
not
needs
yet a
to be-
burglary.
Not
There
yet
needs
a
to be some
burglary.
type of threshold of it having a structure before it to be burglary. But I'm telling you, cameras have become so cheap. I wish, as many, those help us solve not just your crime, but when somebody goes and steals, a package or whatever, they're not stealing one, they're stealing 15 of them, and then you have a rash of them. And if one person has that on film, then it's pretty, our chance of success solving those crimes goes up every year. And I think, 10 years ago, I did a study on the percentage, national average stealing or solving petty thefts and burglaries like 13%. Ours was up in the 30s, but I think that's because we're smaller and we have a smaller list of suspects to look through. But with cameras,
All
that
the
helps
dudes
us
that
a
are in
lot.
or out, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Is it Bob or is it Larry today? Yeah.
Well, Bob's in jail, so it must be
I
Larry.
do not know anyone's name, by
that's,
the way.
that's not as far off as you
We've made the names are completely made up.
Those
Yeah.
names are
Don't
completely
call.
made up. I do not know Bob or Larry. That would be a reference.
We're going to move
Don't
the
come to the
microphone a little
station
closer
if
to
we're
you,
on.
Sheriff. And
I was hoping you'd do that.
Keaton's mom said she couldn't hear you.
All right, we'll talk
Well,
about that.
Sorry.
Okay, so cameras. That is a good tip.
Yeah.
Especially if you're ordering a lot online, like most of us are right now.
Just
invest
order a
in
camera
cameras.
while you're on there. They're
Order a
pretty cheap.
camera
There's-
on these
and you
packages.
put those on social media, and they tend to get solved fairly quickly. I mean, we had several
Yeah.
vehicles get stolen up north of Marshfield here the last few months, and they were all solved fairly quickly. All
That's
three.
great.
One of them was through beer cams, but it was.
I have the Ring
Computer
doorbell.
cams, that's awesome.
I have a Ring doorbell. I have a camera that watches my driveway, and then I have my packages delivered to an outbuilding that has an electronic lock on it. That I gave the code to the UPS and the FedEx guys, so they can punch in the code,
Are very
unlock
protective of your property.
the door, put the packages in there. Well, you know why.
Why?
Sheriff knows why.
Yeah.
And then they can lock it, so my packages are actually locked up. 50% of the time when they follow the delivery drivers follow those instructions, they still will just leave them on the porch. Sometimes they
Sure.
don't
Is
follow
there
it.
also like a little hole by the door and you have a firearm on the other side?
No,
just
but
waiting
there's
for
actually
them?
a camera inside the building too, so I can watch them deliver the package.
They drop one, take two.
Yeah,
Well, we need to talk about shooting people.
you might need to calm this one down.
Don't shoot anybody over stealing property. We can talk about that in a second. But the other
He's
thing,
not kidding.
Before I forget, though, put serial numbers on your stuff, and we can keep a list of that for you. Like we have a list of inventory if you want to call up and say, I have this list of things, and all these things are serial numbered. That helps us a lot because we can put it in the old system. It can go out to the whole state, and then if it's found up in some other county, we've got the serial number, and we can get it back to you pretty quick. And if we solve that crime, we'll solve a bunch. That's the way it generally works with burglaries and theft. If you don't solve one, you solve.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Like your own serial number?
Yeah,
Like-
you're free to make. I would come up with a system and how I did it, but keeping a list and every so often give it to us, and we'll keep it on file at the sheriff's office.
Very cool. I did not know that was an
That's a
option.
good idea.
Not either.
Don't. Oh man, I hate giving this lecture, but okay. So don't shoot people over stolen property. When you teach CCWs, you would always get the question of, somebody's trying to steal my cows. Can I just go shoot them? No. The answer is no. You go and if you first of all you call 911, but for some reason you're going out there to protect your property, go protect your property, but don't just shoot somebody over it. The only answer ever to pulling the trigger is if you are in fear of your own physical safety. That is the only, or somebody else's of serious physical injury. Is the only time you do that. So, but you do, you watch westerns or old shows and like, they're stealing something. So I'm gonna shoot them. No, we don't do that.
No. Well, I mean, it's important because tempers are kind of hot right now,
Yeah.
and people get upset with each other, and a lot of times.
You don't want to live with that.
A lot of times, the criminal and the victim know each other, right? So there's probably history,
Maybe.
and that's good advice.
Laura's gonna
It's
go
a
to
lot
Will's.
deeper than my holiday safety tips. You're
Whose
welcome.
story are you telling, Lauren?
You never know with me. That is great advice because it's important that people know those from the professionals. I say that on this show a lot. You got to get good advice from good people. So
Well, it's all fun and games till the cops show up,
yeah,
and then then people go, "This wasn't the way I thought it was going to go."
it got real serious,
It got real serious
fast.
real fast.
Yeah. Okay, another thing that I'm curious about, a lot of people are out shopping right now, even though most of us are online. When you're in Springfield and you're at the mall or you're out to dinner at a holiday party, what can you do with your vehicle, yourself, to make sure you stay safe or your property stays protected while you're away from your home?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Well, it's very based on your environment and where that party is and where you're shopping at. So that's a difficult thing to say. I would always, the first thing I would say is mind your space. Know what's around you. Know who's around you. If you can go in a group, I'm way more concerned with protecting your person than I am your property. But
Sure.
how you park, where you park makes a big difference. I do encourage everyone that's responsible to carry a weapon because I want them to protect themselves. Something that came up yesterday, and this is more about protecting your person, but some weird wreck. You get into some weird wreck, be careful how you just go approach that person because you don't know if they did that on purpose or not. And then, for some reason that's been bothering me a lot this last week because this conversation came up. And, I know it's been a long, long time, but Amanda Morton is still in my mind from Stratford. She was hit, and, she in her mind probably just thought it was an honest accident, and then she ended up being kidnapped. So I don't know. I think a lot more about the person than I do the property. But
So if you're if somebody does hit you, what should you do? Do you just stay in your car? What's the best route to take?
You have
like
every
always,
right.
Depends on where you're at.
You have every right to drive directly to a law enforcement office. So you can drive directly to a police.
Or public place.
Yeah, you have every right to do that. So there's this whole leaving the scene of an accident problem. You can't just leave. That's a misdemeanor, if not a felony. But one of the things you can do that keeps you in compliance with laws, you could drive to the sheriff's office. You could drive to the local police department. And hopefully there's going to be people there that can keep you safe.
Last year, probably about this time, I was driving to Fordland and it was dark and Jesse was home with the girls and I could see something was going on with traffic in front of me and all of a sudden I see tire flying through the air and I'm like, oh, it's coming! And so
There's no way to get out of the way.
No, so I kind of took a little bit of the shoulder and it hit and went under my tire. It's dark and I'm by myself and I'm like, I am not pulling over the side of the highway. It's a safety issue for me because I have no idea if there's damage or not. So I went ahead and drove into Fordland and I parked at the police station. Nobody was there at that moment, but I parked at the police station and I called. I just said, I don't know if there's damage, but I did not want to pull over on the highway. And I also need that person's information because it was a trailer that had lost a tire and they were on the side of the highway. And so they were very helpful, and the highway patrol ended up showing up. And it was funny because, the lady was so happy that I wasn't hurt, and they had been terrified because it was a big load that they were hauling. And so please, even though something scary just happened, factor in your safety first because you never know. You don't want to be on the side of the highway in the dark,
And please
if at all possible. Yeah.
Please call, because if you just drive from somewhere to the person that hits you, if it is, like 99.9% of this accident, they're going to think you're running. So call the police and let them know. So.
It's good. That's great advice. And I mean,
There's nothing more dangerous than the side of the highway.
Oh.
I don't know how our trooper friends do that. They're on the side of the road. When I pull people over, like all I can think about is getting hit by the car behind me.
It's scary.
Well, I've seen a lot of them doing it differently, parking their cars at an angle, approaching from the passenger side.
And I mean, isn't the general rule, and not just for police, but like if there's a vehicle on the side of the road, is the general rule is to get over if you can?
You're required to if it's first responder.
Sure.
You should do it regardless.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
And or slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down a lot.
Yeah.
Like a snail's pace.
Well, because you slow down from 70 to 40. You think you've slowed down, but to the person standing on the side of the road, you're flying.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That is a really good point. So mind your surroundings.
Right.
If you got any stuff in your car, don't let people see Christmas packages. Put it in the trunk of your car. That was always big advice they gave us at the mall.
Or if you have a sportsman pickup cover, you can put it right in the bed of your truck, and it keeps it all.
They
come with a lock.
They come with a lock. They're watertight. It's a great place to store those packages.
And if you do carry, for Pete's sake, make sure it's not visible. And, well, that's a good question.
No.
So if you carry,
No. Hide it.
hide it. If you carry and you get pulled over by a police officer, how do you approach that as someone that's carrying?
Well, you're not required to tell anybody. We assume most of the people we pull over have them anyway, but we always, it makes us feel a little better when you tell us because we assume that if you're a threat, you're probably not going to tell us unless you're telling us in a threatening way. And so we always appreciate that. So.
Good. It's good to know. Okay, and if you're going on your holiday trip, you're going to see family for a while, and you're say you're going to be gone from your house for a couple of days. What are some safety tips of you leaving your house? What kind of, I don't know, what do you do in that situation?
Well, tell your neighbors. If you have animals, somebody may be going there to feed your animals, so tell them what to look for. Obviously, lock your doors. Of course, if you're out in the country, I always joke, they're just going to kick them in anyway. So.
Yep.
But lock them. You can, if you call us and let us know, we'll do extra patrols while you're gone. So if you just call dispatch and say, can you have an extra patrol? I'm going to be out of town for a few days. We'll try to make sure that somebody swings by at least once a shift, and there's 3 shifts a day. So maybe we can get eyes on it 3 times or so and see if there's anybody out there just sitting around. So we used to have we haven't had it a lot lately, but people would read the paper and they would see when there was a funeral.
Oh.
And then they would go
Horrendous.
get someone's home. Yeah.
What the
pretty
heck? That's awful. Well, criminals are nice.
It doesn't happen a lot, but it's something to see on occasion.
Well, that kind of leads to a good point. You probably shouldn't announce on Facebook, hey, I'm going to be out of town December 7th to the 10th,
Yeah.
and I got some nice stuff you can steal.
Yeah.
That's my mom
I'm going on vacation.
doesn't let us post while we're gone.
Can't
Yeah.
post pictures while you're on
Yeah.
vacation.
Yeah, post when you get back.
My neighbor keeps a pretty good eye on my house.
Well, it sounds
Oh,
like
does
you've
it?
got cameras and...
Yeah, he does.
Who is this guy?
He used to be the sheriff of all.
Is there any
I'm
other...
pretty sure he doesn't have any weaponry.
No, he's pretty.
Well, apparently everyone's lost all of their weapons that they had.
Oh.
So weird rash of losing weapons is happening.
November 5th.
Yeah.
So
I don't know where they all went.
nobody knows. Oh my gosh. Is there any other advice that you can give to help people, their property, themselves keep safe during the holiday season and any other time?
Oh, mercy. There's a ton of advice. But it's so, it's so specific based on the individual person, but not off the top of my head. So. If we were at a location, I could give you a bunch of different things.
You need to do this,
But
this.
the next episode is on location at somebody's house.
We go to Lauren's house.
Come to my house.
Lock
That's
the
hilarious.
door.
What?
That'd be so
Yeah,
funny.
no, I just leave my doors unlocked. No, I know. I've always been a door locker. I mean, our house was always locked up. Our cars are always locked. I mean, if you get out of your car, lock your car because people will slip into your car. I mean, you got to be mindful at gas stations and all kinds of stuff. So it's mainly being mindful of your surroundings. And I think one of the things that I've heard several times today is don't be afraid to call,
Right.
ask questions, talk to your local law enforcement.
Keep a list of all your stuff also for insurance reasons. If somebody
Yeah.
does steal it, you can have an accurate reflection of it.
Yeah, because you're not going to remember at
You
that
won't.
time. You won't. There's no way. So.
My dad, when he had his company still, he would always drive around in his red Garrett's propane pickup truck.
Mm-hmm.
And of course he knows everybody, okay? And doesn't matter what gas station he was at, he'd pull up, get out, leave the truck running, unlock, windows down, go inside, chit-chat, pay, come back out. It's always still there. Always.
Couldn't get anybody to steal it.
No.
Oh my goodness.
He doesn't do it anymore.
It used to be a municipal ordinance violation in the city of Springfield with
Right.
the keys in your car.
Really? Yeah, he
Did it
definitely
really?
did.
Yep. Yep, it was. If you left the keys in your car, it was an ordinance violation in the city of Springfield. So,
On occasion, we'll get joyriders. We had a guy in Seymour one time that every day he just stole a car and then he would park it. He would steal a car and he would park it. The MO was just the same. He did this for basically a season before he got caught. It's like, so you're the one that did all those?
Yeah.
Why? Well, I had to get to work, which that wasn't true. But that was
No. At first I was like, that's a noble he's lying. That's not true.
Well, I'm a physician down the block, and I had to go.
That's interesting.
before we sign off for today, do you have something else you want to say, real quick?
No.
No. I was gonna say, I'm not cutting you off by any means because this has been a good show. But I did want to remind people about the stuff coming up this weekend because it's our Christmas
Yes.
celebrations. So come out and see the parade. It's going to start at 1 o'clock. Lineups at noon. I guess you can still register a float if you want.
think you can.
I think you can.
They're not going to tell you no.
No.
If you show up.
We registered our K-ROG float. You're going to want to see that.
It's going to be real nice, Clark.
It's nice to hear Merry Christmas.
John Pope
Is it
wants
a
to know
Christmas
if there was
thing?
ever a special emergency if you would deputize him.
He's asked that before. Well, in truth, I would. I tell him no. No, John.
He might have some
If there was
skills.
trouble, John would be basically the first guy I would call.
Yeah,
so.
I was gonna say.
I
Yeah.
think he knows what he's
He has a little kicking down door experience,
Yeah.
I think. But yeah,
He's
a good-
definitely kicked down more doors than I have.
yelling about it.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
We should. Hey, we could do
Sorry,
it.
John, I couldn't make a joke out of that.
It's okay. John will find a way.
Yeah.
But he's going to be on the K-ROG float.
I just had a crazy idea.
Did you?
Yeah,
Can you tell
I
us
did.
about it on the air, or do we need to go offline first?
We should try. No, we can do it here, and he didn't have to answer this because he's not going to be able to right now. But it would be cool
Make something up.
to do a K-ROG ride along. We probably
That would
couldn't
be
do it live, but maybe do that. Or
Video
consider
some
it.
of
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
It would be interesting, like live Webster County.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Live from Webster County. We really appreciate you taking the time to come here. We know you're very busy, and it's helpful to our viewers. And I think this has already had quite a few views, and so we want our viewers to be safe during the holiday season. We want you guys' job to be easy and safe as possible, and I think that's our goal. So
Absolutely.
we appreciate it very
Yeah.
much.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching.
Woohoo!